Hey guys, I'm a forester here, and this morning I'm going to go outside into the backyard and pick my breakfast. Now, it's in the background. If you look behind me, it's right back there. It's in that brown spot. Let's go down a little bit closer and I'll show you what it is. A lot of you have been showing your garden videos, and we do just a little bit of gardening. My wife does it primarily, but this is my type of gardening because it's free for the eating. I didn't have to do anything. Yet this big bare spot in my yard is where I burned the tops from the tree that I took down recently, and it did kill the grass. I knew that it was, so that was this is a side benefit of burning it, and I'll get grass to grow back here eventually. I may have some more to burn, but this is what came up, and let me give you a close-up of it. Here's a ground level shot, but this is what I just call poke. Some may call it poke salad, and others may call it poke salad, and it probably has some other names also. But these are young plants, and these are the only size that I ever picked to eat. Now, I lived out in the country growing up, and we ate a lot. Well, we gardened a lot, but we also ate a lot of free food, wild food. You know, things like huckleberries. Poke salad was a springtime delight, and but other things. Another green that we grew in our yard was dandelion, and my parents had a gravy, dandelion gravy, that they made to put over potatoes, and I really liked it. That was a very tart taste to it. But right off the bat, you hear a lot about poke salad being poisonous, and you know, I did hear about poke salad being poisonous, but I can attest that I'm still alive and kicking. It didn't poison me, and I'll show you what we did. We only ate young plants that were still tender. We did not mess with the berries. I wouldn't recommend ingesting berries, and we didn't mess with the roots. We didn't even eat the stems. So I'm going to pick these young leaves, and then we'll go inside and cook it up, and I'll show you how we cooked it. Now, a lot of these plants are actually too small, but I'll go ahead and pick them anyway. Poke boils down to almost nothing, so this is just a very small amount. It probably won't make more than just a taste, but I thought I've been meaning to do this for a while. I mean, like for the past 3 years. So, but I do want, before I forget, I want to say that I'm very particular about where I pick poke, because you never know. You see it growing a lot. It's a very common plant, but you never know what chemicals might be spread on the ground, if it's on the side of the road or in a lot of other places where you see it. Here, the only chemicals that I've used that, you know, might be a concern are for fire ants. And I don't use that much. I just spot treat the fire ant nest, so I'm not concerned about that. And other than that is fertilizer, and I don't do heavy fertilizer in the yard. So I'm not concerned about this, but do be cautious if you're going to try this, to be very selective on where you do pick the poke. Now, normally I pick the leaves, and I'm going to use my Benchmade bug out to harvest this. I'm going to go ahead and collect the whole plant and just cut it off at the base and put the whole plant in my Kroger bag. And I may leave some of these smaller plants for later, let it grow, and I'll have another mess of poke maybe in a week or so. All right, I'm going to fill the bag up, and then I'll catch up with you back in the kitchen. And of course, do be careful while you're cutting poke. I wasn't that careful, and I got a good cut on my thumb. I was slicing the poke and just wasn't careful and came down across my thumb right there. All right, I'll go bandage this up and see you back inside. I actually picked more poke than I thought I was going to get. I got a grocery bag full and then a little bit more. So let's get busy washing the leaves. Now, like I said, I don't eat the stem, and I'm going to be extra careful. I'm just going to cut these leaves. I don't eat the stem. or the roots or the berries. So I'm just going to cut the leaves off and not even leave much of the midrib. I don't cut the midrib out though. I do leave that. So I will boil the whole leaf. I don't try to devein it. Okay, and then once I get it, and I'm going to be careful of this thumb, but once I get the leaves all cut up, I'll just wash the leaves, make sure there's, all the critters are off the leaves and any dirt. Just wash them like that, and then I'll fry up some bacon. Okay, so I just cut this leaf, and I thought I wanted to show you that this does not have a heavy sap. In fact, I don't see any sap at all. So it's not like milkweed. If you're not familiar with this, it doesn't have a thick white sap like milkweed would. Okay, we've washed them once, and it turned out to be more than I thought it was going to be. We're washing them for a second time to make sure all the dirt, critters, and blood is washed off the leaves. And here's our little garden. I'll shoot it out the window. I say our, it's my wife Wanda's garden. And what are you growing out there?
Tomatoes, cucumbers, and peppers.
How many cucumbers has it produced so far?
I think about 9. And we've gotten about 3 or 4 peppers. And the tomatoes are just starting to form.
All right, so that's our little garden. But I'd rather eat free food, to be honest. And this is free for the eating. I did want to mention one thing. Some of you may wonder, how did the poke come up in what was yard? But the seed is stored. Poke grew there before this was ever a house or a yard, and the seed that came off the old poke plant somewhere back in time were stored in the duff and down in the grass. So all it needed, it was sitting there waiting for sunlight and to be released, and they germinated, and you'll find that commonly. Okay, let's fry up some bacon. Okay, the next step is frying up some bacon. I just put a few slices in here. I did want to mention this is the bacon that I use, and this is a Kirkland brand that we buy at Costco. And the reason we use this is it's not sugar cured, so we don't have to worry about getting unnecessary sugar in our diet. Alright, the bacon is talking to us. It'll be ready in a minute. I'm heating up water in 2 different pots to boil the poke in. Alright, we're through with the bacon. We got it laid out there and draining. I'm going to drain this excess bacon grease out of the pan because I'm going to put the poke after it's boiled into the pan here. I'll leave a little bit of grease in it. Now this turned out to be more poke than I thought I was picking, but like I say, it boils down to almost nothing. So I'm bringing this larger pot to a boil. Set that out of the way, and I'm going to go ahead and start dropping leaves in there. I've got it on high, and we'll see how long it takes for this to boil down. You can see there's a lot of variation in leaves. There's everything from very small leaves to to large leaves. This is probably ideal. There's some of the smaller ones that are more tender. Now, I don't time how long I boil it. What I go by is the leaf color. So notice the color of the leaves now, and then I'll show it to you when I think it's ready to take out. Alright, we actually got all the leaves in this one pot. You can tell that it's already starting to boil down. So I'm going to cover it and let it sit for a while, and I'll bring you right back. It's only been a minute or 2, but I thought I'd show you. The leaf color hasn't really changed that much. We're going to leave it in there for a little while, but I did want to mention that this isn't a meal that you eat year-round, of course. It's mainly available in the spring and early summer, and this is early summer. I'm making this video, I'm in South Carolina, and it's the first day of July. But I always viewed this as a spring tonic, and while it's cooking, I'll just mention that I've done a little more research reading before making this video because I didn't want to misspeak, and it's always been a question in my mind about whether it's poisonous, because as I said earlier, you hear about different parts of the plant being poisonous. What I read in preparation for this video is that even the leaves are slightly poisonous. Some people recommend boiling it 3 times before you fix it and eat it. I've never done that. I've only boiled it once. I think what I'm going to do for this video is maybe boil it and then drain it, because I don't want to give anybody the wrong impression and anybody gets sick. But I'm going to drain it and then probably boil it a second time, or just rinse the leaves off in separate water. But that's never been an issue with me. I will say that I've always considered it to be a spring tonic, in that it will clean your system out, but there's a lot of other foods that do that, have that effect also. So I'm not worried about it. I mean, I'm testimony to where it won't hurt you. It's never killed me, obviously. So anyway, I'll show you how I cook it, and I've only cooked it one way. I know there's a lot more recipes, but this is how we fixed it, and how we always ate it, and I liked it just fine. Okay, I'm going to do something I don't usually do, and it's about halfway through cooking, and I'm going to take the leaves out, and I'm just going to drain them in a colander. And then I'm going to empty this water and put it back in some fresh water. And like I say, I don't usually do this, but I will for y'all, because I don't want somebody to try this and then claim they got sick. Let's just dump this in. Whoop. You can see that water definitely is yellow. Okay, we'll drain that and then boil it some more. Guys, I think it's about ready, so I'm going to go ahead and turn the heat off. There we go. Uncover it. And it's boiled down, but this is more than I thought it was going to be. Now, I don't know that the color has changed, but the luster of the leaves has changed to my eye. And that's what I generally look for. Alright, I'm going to take this over to the sink, drain it, and I'll be right back. Alright, let's drain it, and I'll get a good bit of it out just by hand. Then we'll pour the rest of it in. Now, the next step is to get all the water out of this, and the reason I want to do that is because it's going to go in that bacon grease in the skillet. And so there's going to be a lot of sputtering and spitting from any water left in it until the water evaporates. Okay, let me just pour the rest of this in. And you notice the water isn't quite as gold right now. Okay, I'm going to let that drain. I'm going to rinse it again, and then I'm going to use my hands to just wring out as much water as I can. Okay, so what I do to get the water out is I just squeeze it. The water comes out and drains through the colander. It's like working with, looks like a piece of green hamburger. But I just want to get as much of that water out as possible. Okay, now for the finishing touches. Now this is hot, it's got a little bacon grease in it. I've gotten all the water out that I can, but I'm just going to put this in the bacon grease and fry it up. And I'll use a fork just to spread it out a little bit. Now, the secret to this are in these eggs. So we're going to crack, and for this amount of poke, I'm going to crack 2 eggs. Okay, now we're just going to scramble up some eggs. I've never seen anybody else fix it this way. I've watched some other recipes, but this adds an excellent flavor to it. Just want to get everything coated with that egg mixture. And I might actually have to crack another egg over it. That turned out to be a lot more poke than what I thought it was going to be. I'll do one more egg. And this is going to be breakfast this morning. Normally we eat this for supper. But Wanda's been patiently waiting for her breakfast, and I'm about to call her in. So it'll be bacon, eggs, and poke. We'll describe what it tastes like when I serve this up. And I think it's about ready. I'll turn that off and just let it cool down. Are you ready for breakfast?
Yeah, I'm coming.
Okay, you got everything watered. All right, here we go. We got some bacon. Now-
Yummy looking.
All right, you go ahead and try it, and then I'll try some. The whole family's in here. Cat, dog. Now this is a spring tonic, and the dog's been feeling puny, so might have to give her some and see what she thinks of it. What does it taste like?
Good. It reminds me of spinach, or mild spinach.
Can I have my seat? Thank you.
Very good.
I don't think it reminds me of spinach so much as, I would say the closest green to this is Swiss chard, but to be honest, this is my favorite green of all.
Very good.
Now I did put some salt and pepper on it. Sometimes I don't do that. Mike could put a little bit more salt.
Really good.
Oh, did I tell you it's poisonous? I don't think so, not the leaves. Y'all take care.